Well, President Trump's big, beautiful spending bill is at the 5-yard line after Senate Republicans passed the framework early this morning. But as the GOP transforms the American economy, some on the left are turning into doomsday preppers over Trump's tariffs, like Mark Cuban, who is urging Americans to stockpile goods. No hyperbole there. But this freakout over reciprocal trade is surprising from liberals who spent years advocating for the same exact thing. Listen.
It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity from nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries.
That the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal?
So I have been one of the chief critics of status quo on trade. Americans, and I share this, resent all those academics who, anytime you try to do anything with China, they say protectionist, trade war. Bottom line is simple. China's eating our lunch.
Well, pain is temporary, but film is forever, is the old saying. Katie, have Democrats changed their position on tariffs? It's all right there on tape because they just reflexively want to oppose everything that Donald Trump does.
I mean, it's pretty clear that's exactly what they're doing. But the China issue especially is very interesting because when President Trump was in office the first time, he went to China in November of 2017. I happened to go the week after he was there. And during a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, the number one thing that they complained about was reciprocity, whether it was with trade deficits, whether it was tariffs, whether it was just entering into the market in China. They want certain parts of your company that they don't allow to come in without a lot of different rules about how you can operate and which markets you're allowed to go into, et cetera. So China especially has been treated as a third world country that needs developing. China is not that anymore. They're a developed country that is competing with the United States on every level. They're stealing our stuff. And so Democrats have been saying this for many years, and it seems like Trump is the only one who's willing to take the political risk, and there is a lot of that, to actually implement what he's talking about and what he's promising people he's going to do with the trade.
One party, all talk. Donald Trump action in this case, very aggressive action, guys. So we saw Thursday and Friday the Dow down 1,600 points. 2,200 points, the NASDAQ off 6%. You go back and look at Donald Trump when he first took office in 2017, January 2017, the stock market was around 19,000. Right now, it's north of 38,000. So despite these losses, it has still doubled over the last 8 years. So while people say my 401k is disappearing, well, they've probably done pretty good. Even if you go back 20 years, the Dow was at 10,000 in 2005. Now it's almost 4 times that. My question is, how patient do you think the American people will be when they see these drops day after day? How much of a runway does the president have here?
Well, it's not just the stock market, though. It's also the cost of goods. It's potential layoffs, right? There are many things that might come about that will be blamed on tariffs, some of which I think would be probably fair blame, some of which might be demagoguery. And it'll be a very easy story to tell for the opposition to say, Trump did this, now look at this. Direct correlation, and people get angry because if you look at the polling, the tariffs, with the exception of China, the tariffs are not popular to begin with. So if more pain grows, that's the big question. I think it is a political loser for conservatives or Republicans to say, oh, you feeling like you're becoming poorer or losing money doesn't really matter or it's worth it. I think that is the wrong way to approach it. The better way, maybe the only way to do it, is to say you have to be a little patient because we believe it's going to work. That's a big risk, but I think that's the case to be made. The question is, how patient are voters willing to be? Because we have a very short attention span generally in our society. And if people are feeling pain and anxiety, I think it's probably on a political level a pretty short leash.
Yeah.
Molly's itching and jumped in.
Yeah, Guy has hit this right on the head. There's some new CBS News YouGov polling from the end of March that said that 64% say that Trump is not focused enough on lowering prices. 55% say he's too focused on tariffs. What I think is so fascinating about this is in February, same kind of polling, from the 5th to the 7th, so 2.5 weeks into his presidency, there's already this impatience expressed that Trump is focusing on lowering prices. 66% then said not enough, and that was just 2 weeks in. So now here we are. How much more frustrated are people going to be? Are they willing to wait? That doesn't show a whole lot of patience.
Yeah, and in terms of the political part of this, the runway is the big question, but that is why you're seeing the White House pushing so hard on Capitol Hill to get his tax package done, to get the budget done, because this is part of a bigger philosophy and strategy on lowering taxes. So if there's a little more pain with the tariffs and there are some price increases, at least you get some relief in your paycheck.
It offsets, yes.
Then they're trying to cut spending through DOGE, right? And they're also trying to deregulate, which would allow the jobs that have been put overseas to come back so they can start building those factories and onshoring some of those jobs. So it's part of a bigger strategy that they're hoping works, and the president is very clear that he's moving forward with it, and he is not going to worry too much about the short term, but we'll see how long that can work.
This is true, Guy. In terms of like the next thing that happens, we've seen a dozen nations now talking tariffs and trade with Trump. I'll list them for you. Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Japan. Let's see. We have Australia. We have the United Kingdom, Israel, Argentina, Canada, Mexico, Slovakia. So countries are coming to the table. Vietnam is saying, we'll go to zero if you go to zero. That's the best case scenario. If more countries start to do that and Trump is able to make good deals, then this may actually be the big bet that he's making. He's betting on his presidency basically on this. Then it will pay off. But the question is, will China play ball? Because that ultimately is the big kahuna.
Yeah, and like the two big questions are, will this work, period? Right?
Yeah.
That's a big question mark. And if so, because I want to give some benefit of the doubt and not just, run around with my hair on fire, if it does end up working, how quickly does it start to work? That goes back to the patience question. And then also, what do these other nations have to do that would satisfy Trump? I'm not sure we have an answer to that question. The Israelis dropped theirs down to zero, and then he tariffed them anyway.
Yeah.
So I think there needs to be some clarity there, and hopefully we will get that.
All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.